A review into sexual exploitation in the northeast of England has concluded it's likely that not just girls, but also vulnerable women are being extensively abused across the UK. It follows Operation Sanctuary in August last year, which saw these 18 people jailed for the sexual abuse of young women and girls groomed in Newcastle. A review of that case has concluded a number of gangs have abused more than 700 victims across the Northumberland region. From Newcastle, Fiona Trott reports.
A city under scrutiny. On these streets, as many as 700 vulnerable girls and women were sexually exploited. Some were trafficked from one house to another and abused by several men. Vanessa, not her real name, was a victim of sexual exploitation. To protect her identity, we've used an actor's voice.
At first, nothing was expected. I'd just meet them and sit and have a drink with them. But as time went on, I'd have to have sex with them. When you're in care, they say you need education, but what they seem to forget is that you can have mental intelligence. But if you're not emotionally educated, it's pointless.
That's why schools like this one are teaching children about grooming. Operation Sanctuary happened on their doorstep.
In Newcastle, we've seen people being arrested. Generally, it tends to be men.
It makes you kind of free to go out in case it ever happened to you or your friend.
Were you that worried?
Yeah. It scared us in case it happened to me, you didn't know who to turn to or who you could trust.
Both people in a relationship need to be comfortable and need to be in a situation where they can open up and listen.
Today's report says it's not just children. For the first time, a focus on vulnerable adults and a warning to other towns and cities across the UK.
What I'd like the government to do is to have a really good look at the learning that is now available about abuse of adults with vulnerabilities, check the legislation, make sure the legislation that's in place is fit for purpose.
All right then. Are you okay?
In the meantime, this is how police are tackling the problem now. Takeaway staff across Newcastle are being trained on how to spot adult victims. They know the exploitation still exists in this city.
I think it would be naive and wrong for me to suggest that because of Sanctuary and at the point that this report is published, that this has stopped and that we've solved the problem. We haven't. It continues, it carries on, I would suggest, in most, if not all, towns and cities in the UK.
Most of the perpetrators who cruised these streets were from Pakistani, Bangladeshi and Indian backgrounds. Today's report is calling for research into their cultures to understand their motivation and what it calls an arrogant persistence. Fiona Trott, BBC News, Newcastle.